Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is November 12th, and right now we're looking at the infrared satellite imagery. We got the Hawaiian Islands way to the bottom left of this image. Pacific Northwest here is to the upper right. We got a lot of cold air spilling down out across the Pacific Ocean. This is probably going to split. Some of this energy is going to go towards California. Some of it's going to slide across Western Canada. What's going to happen here across Pacific Northwest? Well, we'll dive into the latest as we go through the video here this morning. And taking a look here, I heard some rain falling here this morning, and indeed there is some showers moving across the area. And we'll take a look at the latest on this upcoming also. And we'll take a look at what is coming as we go through this weekend on into early next week. So we have additional systems potentially rolling our way. So if you guys want a nice affordable home weather station, again, I've mentioned this before. I test two of these at my house. It just notified me that it started to rain at my house. And yeah, fun stuff here. And if you want one of these, click on the link down below to save 10% off. Highly recommend it. So taking a look here, Hawaiian Islands bottom left, Pacific Northwest to the upper right. And there's our next trough out here over the Pacific Ocean. And as you can see, this energy, this trough splits pretty good here. And a lot of this energy moving through western BC. And a lot of this gets caught up right on the California-Oregon border. And it's going to be swinging down towards California. So what does that mean for us? Well, I'll show you that here more in a moment. But we do have another trough kind of sliding through as we go towards the end of the weekend and through early next week, according to last night's European model run. So if we take a look at the mean sea level pressure, you'll see a pretty deep low here right off the Oregon California border. That's going to bring some strong winds up into portions of the Oregon coast here and for California coastline as well. And there will be a pressure gradient here across some of the Pacific Northwest for some blustery winds, but nothing too extreme, no region-wide windstorm or anything like that by any stretch of the imagination. And then as we scroll off in towards the end of this weekend, you can kind of see we're going to still be dealing with this troughing here across a lot of the Pacific Northwest, bringing multiple rounds of precipitation. Probably the best snowfall coming later on this weekend for some of the Cascades of Washington, Oregon. I'll show you more on that here in a moment. But first things first, let's take a look at 100-meter wind speed, and you'll see that low developing here as we go on in through tonight and through tomorrow morning. You see some of these stronger winds reaching down towards Cape Blanco, maybe towards Brookings there as well. But this low pressure system, like I mentioned, this trough is splitting, so it's losing its strength as it kind of fills right off our coastline there. And we do bring some blustery winds across portions of Oregon, maybe Washington at times as we go through the day Friday, but again, not a huge windstorm and not nearly as strong as what the European was showing in previous model runs. And we go through the end of the weekend and another trough will be with us. Another frontal system will move through the area. So if we look at accumulated 10-meter max wind gusts on the North American model, you can see some of those stronger winds getting towards the coastline there and across some of Oregon. But again, nothing too extreme, not unlike anything we've seen already this year. Now, looking at 10,000 feet kind of gives you a picture of what's going on here. This is temperature, and you can see some of that colder air moving across Western Canada. And again, you can see how this trough splits and a lot of this energy kind of driving down into California. If this were to kind of hang together, it would bring a much more powerful system across Pacific Northwest. But you can clearly see how they get split up. There goes our low pressure system spinning there, and it fills as it moves towards the Oregon coastline. And then a lot of that energy again down towards California. And then we get another frontal system here as we go through the day on Sunday. This one probably a bit chillier and better chances for some mountain snows and again some additional rounds of precipitation with that system. Now, this is where Portland National Weather Service is talking about some snow down to pass level in the Cascades. Not really seeing this too much in the European model, though, and this will probably be a better chance, as I mentioned, as we go through this upcoming weekend. I'll show you some of that more here in a moment. So a little bit of question with that graphic there. That was issued yesterday, however. Spokane National Weather Service talking about mountain snow. Snow levels falling to 3,500 to 4,000 feet. Thursday night, valley rain, breezy winds, and maybe some winter travel at times over Washington, Stephen, and Lookout Pass. Now, here we are with the European. So let's see the timing of the precipitation. So we get some of this shower activity moving across, and that's what's going on right now. And are we going to get a little bit of clearing for the Aurora? Some of the high resolution models show a little bit of break in the cloud activity just after sunset. So maybe some select locations, especially east, will get some breaks, and you might be able to see the Aurora again tonight. I guess another good round of the Aurora is moving in as we go through tonight as well. But again, a lot of clouds across the region. Then you can see as we go through the day on Thursday, the precipitation, the bulk of that arrives across the region. You can see some of the higher terrain of British Columbia, the Rocky Mountains there. with a pretty decent low pressure system moving across the area. There's the low pressure system on the Oregon coast. You can see it's rapidly filling. There is, again, some gusty winds that will arrive with that, but nothing too crazy. And then we go on in towards this weekend. As you can see, precipitation stays with us, and probably a better chance for some precipitation in the form of snow across the Cascades of Oregon and Washington as we go through the day and the night on Sunday. And if I back that up, I'll show you what I'm talking about, because as we go through Friday, you'll see there is some precipitation in the form of snow across the Washington Cascades, maybe the higher peaks and maybe some of the higher terrain of Oregon, but not much across the Cascades. As you can see, it's not showing up much here in last night's European model run. And then we bring some better chances of snow as we go on in through the later portion of the weekend. Now, looking at total precipitation in inches, again, multiple rounds coming in here. We can see some of this as we go through Wednesday, not amounting to too much across the region. But as we go on in through Thursday morning, see it piling up across southwest BC, Vancouver Island getting some decent amounts. Then we go through the day Thursday. Now we're on into Friday. There's Saturday. And then we go on into Sunday. So kind of multiple rounds coming through here. And after all is said and done, by the time we get to Sunday afternoon, we got 1.3 more for Seattle and some higher amounts across BC, some of the Cascades as well. And of course, lesser amounts east of the mountains, but it starts to pick up again across the Idaho Panhandle and some of western Montana, some of northeast Oregon as well, as you get across some of the higher terrain. Now, accumulated positive snow depth change in inches. So again, as we go on in through, this is Friday. You can see some snow for some of the higher terrain as we go through Friday night into Saturday morning. Maybe a couple inches for Stevens Pass. You might see a few snowflakes as you're crossing I-90, but it doesn't look like it's going to amount to much. And that's by the time you get to Saturday morning, and you see not much for the Oregon Cascades by Saturday morning. However, if we move off towards Sunday and Sunday night, you can see maybe a couple inches for some select locations across the Oregon Cascades. A little bit for Snoqualmie, not much, maybe a little bit for White Pass, a little bit better amounts across Stevens Pass and some of the North Cascades up into British Columbia. I think a little bit of a couple inches for the Olympic Mountains there as well. Now, looking at the artificial intelligence, a little bit of a look at the extended forecast. So first things first, there goes our trough. You can notice, again, split. A lot of that energy moves into California, some of it moving across Western Canada, and then that next frontal system rolls in as we go through the day on Sunday. It's kind of split in there as well, and a lot of that energy, again, moving down towards California. Transient ridge moves through another frontal system, fairly weak as we go through next week. Gulf of Alaska trying to bring some systems back into the region here as we go through the 7, 8, 9, 10-day time period. Gulf of Alaska and kind of dies off a bit there, but it remains active at times. So this is a really low confidence pattern what's coming up here as we go through the end of the month, but it does show the potential for us remaining active, and this is probably going to change every single day over the next few days, so I'm not going to get caught up in those details too much. Now, Aurora viewers, on the European model, the total cloud cover not very promising as we go through tonight. Again, east portions probably better chances for some of that clearing, but if we take a look here, I'm going to look at the North American 3-kilometer version here. And again, as we go through the sunset hours and early evening hours, you can see a little bit of cloud breaking up a little bit for Western Oregon, maybe some of Western Washington. You might be able to see the Aurora through the clouds if it's strong enough. And again, kind of hit and miss here across much of the region. But as you go through tonight, maybe Eastern Oregon, Idaho, Western Montana doing a little bit better if you can drive over there or whatnot. Something interesting showing up here in the ensemble, the extended ensemble here as we go through the 46-day time period. Just kind of a classic pattern here. So as we go through the end of the month of November, you notice this as we go into the first week of December. We're now looking at November 29th through December 6th. This is looking at mean sea level pressure, and this is kind of what you want to see. You want this ridge developing here out across the Northeast Pacific Ocean. So when that happens, that allows for this northwest flow, and you can kind of see this Arctic high across western portions of Canada and some troughing here across Pacific Northwest. This is kind of a classic pattern for some snow that could even get into the lower elevations as we go through the first week of December. You don't want to get too excited about that, but that's what it kind of looks like here with the Arctic high. Again, the ridging out here well up into the Aleutian Islands and that north flow back down across the region, some Arctic air making its way into western Canada. And if I go ahead ahead and do surface temperature. I haven't looked at this. Let's see what it shows for surface temperature anomaly, if that were to be the case. And you can really see that cold air up across Western Canada. And again, this is just looking off, this is basically looking into the tea leaves. This is just, some kind of fantasy forecast. Nothing you want to get too excited about, but some of the models have been showing the potential for that. We'll be watching it here as we go through the next, few days and the next few weeks to try to see if something finally emerges out of this pattern as we go through the early portion of December. But again, no promises at all with that. And taking a look here at the ensemble, the European extended ensembles, 100 ensemble members, and you can see the control run has just some ridiculous amounts of snow for SeaTac Airport, but the mean is a much more realistic, below 5 inches, and this is just a 10-to-1 ratio, so you would immediately cut these values in half anyway. So yeah, just something fun to look at. If you start to see, well, I am starting to see some of this stuff show up in some of the social media sites, so I just kind of want to nip some of that in the bud here. This is purely fantasy. It's just entertainment purposes only, and yeah, if you have any interest in if it's going to get cold later on in the month or in through December, you just keep checking back here daily and just make sure you're up to date with the most recent information. 6 to 10 day, you can see the near normal, some below normal out there. It's not telling us much, and kind of a broad brush above normal here for a lot of the lower 48 as well. So yeah, you could even see the Aurora from my work there at SeaTac yesterday. I worked for Alaska Airlines doing flight control, and yeah, it was pretty amazing. You go out there and kind of see with the visible eye. This is just a cell phone shot there, so pretty fun stuff yesterday. And again, kind of the same thing tonight, but maybe a bit more cloud cover, but some areas again could break out at times. So good luck if you're out there doing that. So anyway, we'll do this all again tomorrow, and I'll catch you in the next forecast.